Laurel, a member of the House Judiciary, Homeland Security, Administration Committees, and the bipartisan Trump assassination attempt task force. Congresswoman, thanks very much for being here. What did you make of Joe Biden's comments last night on the border, blaming Trump?
Well, the person who's lying about the reality of the southern border is very clearly President Biden. And then the American people see this. They understand that it's the last 3.5 years and the lawless policies of the Biden-Harris administration that have led us to this day. So, there are two things that are really important here. The first is that Joe Biden immediately upon taking office suspended the policies that we know were working from the Trump administration. Remain in Mexico, and then this absolute corruption of the asylum system is what has led us to the chaos that we see at the southern border. He designated Kamala Harris as his border czar and put her in charge of getting control of what was happening down there. And the American people know what happened next. The millions of people crossing, the known people from the terror watch list, the human trafficking, the fentanyl, the absolute disaster of his failure of leadership and his failure to respect the law.
Yeah, on day one, he said he wasn't going to deport anybody else. He was going to stop all deportations. Why do you think that was?
Well, I think what he's doing now is trying to shift blame to House Republicans and to President Trump, and that is an absurdity. So in addition to the power that he had to act by executive order, House Republicans sent the strongest border bill in a generation over to the Senate, where Senate Democrats failed to act. And, when we look at who is here now, we simply cannot sustain this type of influx of people who are coming into this country illegally. And you mentioned the loss of life here. That's something that we will never get back. The American citizens, these innocent people who have been victims of crime, as a consequence of our absolute failure to vet and control the type of people who are coming here. This administration doesn't even know who they are or where they are, and they have produced no plan for identifying these people or for keeping Americans safe. And this is an issue that the American people must remember when they go to the ballot box in November. There is no plan by Kamala Harris to actually get to the core of this problem, the lawlessness, and to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, we were just showing a graphic of all of the gangs that have come into this country. You're on the Homeland Security Committee. Tell me what you can share with us in terms of the worries over these gangs and whether or not we are going to see more upset in terms of potential terrorism here.
What we know is that when we fail to secure our border, the Mexican drug cartel will take control. And that is exactly what has happened. Yeah. We know of over 400 people from the terror watch list who have entered this country. That's just the ones we know about. And it poses a grave threat to our domestic security in America that we have allowed this type of person who we know coming in is the type of person who wants to do harm to our country. We've allowed them to come in. We have failed to keep track of where they are. So absolutely, there is a grave threat to the security of our country, and it's one that they have not got under control. We need to put President Trump back in the White House and return to those policies that will keep our border secure.
Yeah, this is very dangerous and serious stuff. Congressman, I want to switch gears, ask you about the investigation into the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The FBI is pushing back on the claims that the FBI released the shooter's body immediately. They released the shooter's body for cremation just 10 days after the attack. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson is looking into all of this. He joined me yesterday on this program, and he slammed the Fed's handling of this investigation. Watch this.
They're doing everything they possibly can to make people suspicious of their investigation. The only thing or most of the information we've gotten on what happened on July 13th comes from local law enforcement. The feds are completely climbing up. I haven't seen the autopsy report. I don't know the toxicology report. Did they do the full spectrum? Are we going to be able to find out whether this individual was taking SSRIs? I mean, what are we going to know? They conduct themselves like they are above the law, and by and large they are. They just refuse to be held accountable by the American public.
So, Congressman, you are doing an investigation, you and your team. Tell us what you can tell us. Can you trust the FBI? What do you know about what went down that day on July 13th?
Well, the most important thing that we need and that the American people need is transparency. And that's exactly what the senator is getting at right there, is what the FBI, the Secret Service, and every agency who touched that day and was involved in what we see is a catastrophic security failure needs to be open and transparent. So we had several House committees who each commenced investigations, and this task force will now take over all of those investigations and have all of the information coming into one place. We have one of the most important things for us to do is to make sure that we do hear not just from the FBI and Secret Service, but from local law enforcement who was there and also the people who attended the rally that day. That's how we're going to ensure the validity and the accuracy and the thoroughness of the information we're getting. But we do need all of that. We need to understand who this person was, what was going on with him, who, if anyone, was he talking to in the days leading up to this, in the months leading up to this. And the other thing, and I'll tell you, I've been to Butler, Pennsylvania, and for those of us who've actually walked that site, it's all the more inexplicable. This is not a large area. It's something that even a layperson could walk up and see, okay, these are the 4 buildings we need to be concerned about. I mean, it is all the more impossible to understand how this could have happened when you actually get to go there and see this site. So we are working very hard around the clock to make sure that we're gathering all of the information so that we can put together a comprehensive picture. Whether we get immediate cooperation or not, we're going to get to the bottom of what happened that day.
All right. We'll be following your work, Congresswoman. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Laurel Lee.